a piece that I found at St. Vincent de Paul on the far right. Such a pretty elegant little armoire, only a few little things wrong with it. So the top of it had this cracked piece, and I got working on that right away. Just a simple fix with Titebond Thick and Quick glue. I put it in there, put a little bit of tape on it, and then used a clamp to hold it until it was dry. I started cleaning out the drawers. There were these papers in there that came out nice and easily, and it was really pretty clean, but on the inside I found something, and I'll tell you what that was in a minute. Besides that, I found a hairpin. Sometimes that's kind of gross, but other times when it's clean like this, you think, oh, it just reminds me of my grandma. Just picture some woman pinning up her hair, and it makes me wonder about the whole piece and her family and her life. Do you guys do that when you look at old furniture? So here's the funny story part. So it was missing the front of that leg. So I cut the other one off to match it. I've done that before on different furniture pieces where it missed that little bit of the front. I think what they do is join them, and over the years it's separated because it came off very cleanly. So I just simply glued both pieces back on. I used Titebond Thick and Quick and just some tape to hold it together. I used a good bit of glue so that it would get pretty much an immediate bond. And I repeat the process on the other side. You can still see the sawdust where I cut the leg off. I wish I had cleaned the drawers out first. That would have been good. I thought I was getting ahead of the game by letting the glue dry before I started painting. Oh well. It all ended well. And next I removed the hardware. And the doors. And I clean it with white lightning. Whenever you use white lightning, it's an awesome cleaner and prep before painting. Just make sure that you also mist it with water and wipe that away, because you want to make sure there's no residue left from the detergent that would interfere with your paint adhering properly. Now I'm painting. This is the second coat and I'm using Silk Conch. Love this beautiful shade of pink that is the shade of a conch shell. This coat is after sanding. I did a scuff sand before I painted my first coat and then a scuff sand in between coats, and you will get the softest finish ever. I think that's why they call it silk, because it really is soft as silk. Now I'm using a detail brush and using Endless Shore to put some detail around the frame of the piece. And then I use Hampton Olive to finish the little detail at the bottom as I did for the piece at the top. These are all silk colors. And this beautiful transfer is going to bring it all together. Now I really wanted to go very organic with this, and this was the only piece that I actually had planned. At the arch at the top, I knew that this one arched piece needed to go. So I trim it to fit. I begin to lift the top paper away slowly as I continue to make sure that the transfer is burnished completely. Beautiful. Now those colors really make sense, don't they? Now I'm using some gilding wax and bronze, and I'm going to highlight that Hampton Olive part. I'm really talking with my hands a lot. My husband was filming for me. I was doing a live, so I actually took this film from my live. Some of it. I actually did some of the beginning part here at the studio. So now I'm just tracing along the detail with my finger. So I am just kind of giving it a very organic hand painted look, not fussing with it too much. Literally it is hand painted, right? So that's what we're getting. And then I'm taking the same bronze and using it on the knobs. And people always ask if this will stay on, and it does. It makes such a difference in the way those knobs look, but it just needs to cure, and then it will be fine and doesn't come off on your hands. Now I'm cutting apart the rest of the transfer, and again, I'm just kind of going after it real non-systematically. This is going to be an asymmetric design. So I'm starting in the upper right corner with one motif and then just building and working my way down the one door and onto the drawer. So next I decide to apply some branches to carry it down. This is a buildable transfer, so you can layer these pieces however you like. One thing to note, there was one piece in there I didn't use because I felt that the scale was wrong. So you can put the leaves underneath. That's kind of what I decided to do here, was just cut those two leaves away. They were kind of separate on there, but all together. So I did the same thing with another leaf on top. I'm just holding the flower part up on top of it to make sure that they actually get tucked underneath the flower. So then you'll see I apply the flower on top of those leaves. I also decide that the flowers all need to face downward because that would be natural in a swag like that. So there's little design details to consider, I think, in order to make the piece look really good, really authentic. I'm careful when I get to the bottom of the door to hold it and make sure that it's not going in too far or anything, because as you see, it's kind of going down now over that seam where the frame is and then onto the drawer. So just have to be careful when you're doing that, and once you apply the transfer, then you can trim. That's what I'm doing here. I'm just taking the scissor blade and just trimming that piece so that you're able to open the drawers and the doors. You could also use a blade for that. I knew there was enough space that I could get away with using those scissor blades for that. That's the piece I think that I decided not to use just because I thought the scale seemed inappropriate. I had toyed around with putting one down in the lower corner and then decided not to. So I'm holding the drawer in from behind to make sure it stays in position for me to apply the transfer on both the drawer and the frame. Actually, it looks like that just went on the drawer right on the top. Okay, now I'm taking an extra little step. Because of the fact you can see down at the bottom of the screen where I'm painting right now that the transfers being white were a little transparent and those branches were showing through. And I don't think you would see that in real life. So what we're going to do is just a little teeny bit of paint. That Endless Shore, we're just using that to touch that up and just to make those flower petals be a little less opaque so that it's more realistic again. So keep in mind, yes, you can paint over transfers. You can blend them into the rest of your furniture piece, or just do as I am here and just intensify the color a little bit. If you were just tuning in, you might be convinced that I painted that all myself. So I had already started to apply the lace transfer on the inside, so I'm going to add the rest of the lace transfer. This is a 4-page transfer, so it's numbered, so I've already used number 1, so now I'm going to apply transfer number 2, so they match up. So I fit it and I trim the edges so they'll meet up properly and get started on the transfer. Now I hold it over both of those drawers, and what's interesting about this transfer is it creates sort of like a spider web in between the drawers. So I'll show you how I deal with that. This transfer takes a lot more time than the Magnolias did. It's very just a lot of details all over, so you just really have to make sure that you burnish the entire transfer. Speeding things up a bit, here's how I trim in between those drawers. That way you don't have to watch the entire process. Still is a short time investment for a really, really good look. And then I take care of that little bit of transfer that's on the edges by using sandpaper. Little pro tip, if you ever make a mistake, you can use sandpaper to distress your transfer, so then it looks like you intentionally missed a spot. This is my pièce de résistance, the little moth that's in this. There's no other one like it, so it's the only one, and I just thought this was the ideal place for this little guy. So after you watch this, then you get to see the completed piece. If you are interested in Dixie Belle products, the link will be down in the description box. Enjoy! Thank you so much for watching today. If you like this video, how about giving it a thumbs up and also share it with your friends? If you haven't subscribed, you'll want to do that so you don't miss anything. Visit us at LiVintageDecor.company, and on Instagram we're LiVintageDecor, and on Facebook we're LiVintageDecor Altoona. Stay well.